My friends, I bring you news regarding the rise of Skywalker, and that news is not good. Since my last video, I have been contacted by a brand new source with knowledge of the production, presenting new information whose provenance seems, to my eyes, authentic and convincing. That said, however, as always, I am in a position only to report that I have received this information from a source or sources purporting to be in the know, and that pending further confirmation I must report everything I'm about to tell you as rumor, even the confirmation of rumors I have previously reported. Warning, potential spoilers lie beyond this point. My news source has direct knowledge of Rise of Skywalker, and this source states, quote, "It bored the F out of me." And even more chillingly, my source states unequivocally their belief that Rise of Skywalker, quote, "might be worse than The Last Jedi." This film was reportedly, quote, "all over the place. It felt confusing. According to my source, the narrative connection of events is threadbare. Things unfold because they have to, not because they logically should. The story seems to largely consist of multiple MacGuffin-style modular plots, achievements moving from one planet/set piece to the next. In other words, this thing is more like a video game than a story. This comes as no surprise, given the allegation that there are between 5 and a dozen different cuts of the film. Because if true, this modular approach to filmmaking, keeping scenes that tested better and discarding other scenes and inserting new ones to replace them without consideration for the underlying narrative coherence, all but guarantees a kind of jagged and disjointed narrative that won't make sense upon close examination. This is what happens when you treat a script like brickwork, and characters and entire scenes are treated like bricks to be inserted, yanked, and replaced upon demand. My source was adamant they would not recommend that friends bother to go see Rise of Skywalker, and from all I've heard, I'm not surprised. In this video, I'm going to share specific plot details previously reported as rumors that my source now confirms as factual. But first, I want to address the attacks from shills disputing the rumors I addressed and calling me a liar. First of all, everything I've reported has been shared as rumors because candidly I've admitted I lack the resources of a major news bureau to independently verify the claims of my sources. I therefore am only reporting that I did in fact receive the information from an outside source, and this is absolutely true. Now, regarding the content of these rumors, the shills have disputed the rumors of reshoots and test screenings, yet confirmation from various sources continues to pour in. Following my initial video, I received a communication from an individual with no less than 4 acquaintances within Lucasfilm who claimed that all 4 were able to confirm the test screenings took place just as I reported them. Additionally, the news source I just alluded to, upon seeing my video about the reshoots and test screenings, reportedly watched my video with a deadpan expression before commenting, "Yep, that's basically all true. There are 3 versions. 2 more were just completed." And I have it reaffirmed by my original source that yes, my reporting was accurate. Quote, "I recently gave you some info on the screenings. This was and is accurate. There are 3 versions of this movie. There are also a few other cuts as well, but to be fair, they have fairly minor variations. The one you talked about a few days ago exists, but literally provoked so much anger in audiences that it won't be the version you see." Jar Jar Abrams himself just last week publicly admitted that he had just finished Rise of Skywalker while saying that despite a, quote, friends and family screening, there had been no test screenings. It doesn't take a genius to see how contradictory these 2 statements by Abrams are. I put it to you. Absent test screenings so bad they sent Lucasfilm into panic mode, why else would they be desperately reshooting up until literally the last minute? What could possibly motivate Lucasfilm to undertake such an expensive and risky endeavor, reshooting and editing multiple versions of Rise of Skywalker up until less than a month from the release date, without test audience feedback telling them how utterly horrible the movie was? Where would the motivation, the drive, the fear and loathing to take these steps come from otherwise? Look at the facts, people. I have an eyewitness account of a test screening so bad people walked out of the theater. I have another source telling me that there have been multiple test screenings, multiple sources confirming that confirmation, and aside from that, I have logic. No corporation investing hundreds of millions of dollars flies by the seat of their pants anymore. Every corporation plays it as safe as they can with focus groups and test screenings. Product testing is mandatory and movies are product for Disney. Kathleen Kennedy and Rolling Stone admitted to screening it for friends and family, but given that Jar Jar said almost exactly the same thing, it sounds like a talking point more than fact. You can't hit a good representative demographic spread with a sampling of friends and family. You can't get a straight answer from such showings because friends and family care about your feelings and tell you what you want to hear, even when you're the cinematic antichrist whose touches death for a franchise as foretold in Cahiers du Cinéma by the prophet Truffaut. So that was a vague and weaselly way to concede that yes, Disney was interested in what people thought of their new product. Yes, they had outsider eyeballs on it, and I don't know, maybe Kathleen Kennedy has plausible deniability. Maybe she wasn't lying about friends and family. Maybe she stood in the door as the 60 or so test audience members filed in and said, "Hello, friend. How's it going, friend? You're officially family now. Welcome to the family, my dear friend." And voila, a cozy family screening with 60 strangers. But even more pointedly, when asked a question in Esquire about whether anyone has seen the movie yet, Abrams replied, "Oh yeah, sure." But then he froze, and realizing he was being recorded on the phone, quickly corrected himself. I mean the final? No. I mean, the truth is, I have not gotten to see the final product. Well, of course not. No one has, because the final product just got finished, which Abrams just admitted. I have confirmation from my source of just how bad things are behind the scenes. A version of the film was locked in as the final version, and then a day or two later, another version of the film was locked as final. I guess it was the really final version with +5 finality. All of which points to one thing, a production in crisis. So this news source reportedly has knowledge that at least 5 different versions of the film exist, and this source verifies that in the last 2 weeks, 2 new versions have been finalized. It is not known if one of these is the final version rated F for final, but I have confirmation of a number of plot points coming down to the wire. Let's start out with the really bad news. My source confirms the last line of the film is, "I am Rey Skywalker." Rey evidently says this line to another woman, not to Kylo Ren, as has been rumored. So right here, if true, this plot point is blasphemy enough to outrage lifetime Star Wars fans for the rest of their lives. You're telling me that these bastards allowed Luke Skywalker to be degraded and debased, turned into a defeatist coward who seeks to end the Jedi Order, and then they have the balls to have this nothing pseudo-character appropriate his home on Tatooine, his heritage, and his very name? Indeed, my source confirms that throughout the rise of Skywalker, they use the name Skywalker as synonymous with Jedi, so that Jedi is essentially replaced with Skywalker by the end. The rise of Skywalker is the story of how a woman takes the name of a fallen hero and perfects it, elevates it. The Skywalker name rises because it's attached to the amazing Wonder Rey, the bestest ever. How do you like that? I don't like it at all. I will need to confer with my source before I go into the plot deeply in a future video, as I've had very limited interaction with my source, who is quite busy and somewhat reticent to share too many details at this stage. But here are some choice tidbits that I can confirm is making it to the final, super final cut with Kung Fu grip of finaldom, according to my source. Given how much in flux things are on this production, I must report all of this as rumor. The rumored scene of Luke training Leia to be a Jedi is gone. This is a common theme throughout this cut of the movie. I suspect that Disney is aware of how much fans have hated these plot points, and Disney's solution to the problem seems to have been not to fix the plot points, but rather to cut any attempted explanations of the plot points, hoping that the film will be loud enough and confusing enough to breeze over the idiotic plot holes without explaining them. They figure if they don't call attention to these plot holes by dwelling on them with failed explanations, the fans won't notice them as much. And so, Leia has a lightsaber to give Rey just because. Don't worry about it. Luke handed them out for Christmas one year. Who knows? Leia lost a tooth and the lightsaber fairy left it under her fucking pillow. Whatever. Welcome to the final cut of Rise of Skywalker. According to my source, Kylo stumbles across Emperor Palpatine fairly early in this cut. Kylo is looking for something called the Wayfinder. The Wayfinder, if we can even call it that, seems to be some powerful MacGuffin that several characters are after. It's like a Sith holocron, but not red, and it is the key to finding the Sith dagger that was used to kill Rey's parents, that has Sith runes on it that C-3PO will have to get his memory wiped to decode, and once he does that, Sith dagger conveniently will lead Rey to another planet and so on, till she finds Palpatine, as we all know she will. So what in God's name is the point of all of this? You could edit this crap down to an hour without all the coy, cutesy mystery box bullshit and just get to the end we all know is coming, so she can kill Palpatine, as we all know she will. God, is it any wonder we're all so looking forward to sitting through this 3-hour death slog towards inevitability? It turns out the Emperor has been hiding out in the unknown regions and amassing a fleet of Imperial Star Destroyers. He wants Kylo to join him, but the ultimate plan is also to bring Rey into the fold. How the Emperor has returned does not seem to be clearly explained. He's just back. And so all the explanations regarding the clones and the fact that it was a clone of Palpatine that died in Return of the Jedi, all of that is gone from this cut. Disney must have realized fans hated the explanation as well as the fact, so they killed the explanation and left the terrible fact. Easy peasy, problem solved, right, Abrams? Palpatine is just back. He didn't die. Deal with it, toxic man babies. This probably explains why, in this cut, Matt Smith is nowhere to be seen. If he played a younger version of Palpatine, as widely reported, it makes sense that when they cut the explanation, they cut Matt Smith. But what they didn't cut was the thing that they couldn't cut, which is that Palpatine is back. And the mere fact that Palpatine is back, the mere fact that Palpatine survived the damned explosion of the Death Star 2 and somehow made it to this place, that fact remains, and that fact alone is enough to make Rise of Skywalker a goddamn disgrace that completely undercuts the original trilogy, completely undercuts Luke Skywalker's triumph, and completely shoves the original trilogy and all of our childhood memories into the incinerator to be burned. Good job, Disney. Good job. In this cut, it is revealed that yes, Palpatine is Rey's grandfather, and yet her parents were nobodies. The son or daughter of Chief Palpatine is going to be, at minimum, fabulously wealthy, probably imbued with the Force, and so the likelihood of them being a nobody seems rather slim. Of course, who knows? Palpatine might have been a dirty dog who had illegitimate children and baby mamas all over the galaxy. White men gonna be toxic, yo, so I suppose it's possible. But since Palpatine knows Rey is his granddaughter, it seems he was aware of his child, which kind of ruins the whole baby daddy thing. In short, like much of this plot, it isn't satisfying, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but there it is. According to my source, Palpatine is Rey's grandfather in this cut. Rey does find the Sith dagger, surprise, surprise! Oops, I should have said, spoiler. My source says this Sith dagger is a, quote, stupid MacGuffin that makes Rey know everything. It's really dumb, unquote. It has runes on it that 3PO must decode to help Rey out, but apparently doing so overloads 3PO and completely wipes his memory, which is idiotic. That's like saying your PC, decked out with 16 gigs of fast RAM and an i7 processor, would get overloaded translating a fortune cookie. I originally thought it was some kind of virus on the dagger that wiped 3PO's memory, or Sith magic, or some crap like that, but no. Apparently decoding it is too much for his processors to handle, which is just plain stupid. How much text did they fit on that blade anyway? And how convenient it is that this particular blade would have a code on it for finding Palpatine. I guess Palpatine, who does not want to be found, let there be this hard-to-find obscure map to his location, in the same way that Luke, who did not want to be found, left a hard-to-find obscure map to his location, just in case Scooby-Doo and Shaggy wanted to find him one day, just so he could say, "My plan to exile myself to Octo, suck on milk, and burn the Jedi texts would have worked too, if it wasn't for those damn kids." When you're a mastermind, leaving clues for people you don't want to find you, it's important to have something clever to say when they solve the mystery you didn't want them to solve, using clues you considerately left that you didn't want them to find. Otherwise, you just feel dumb. And you wonder, was it all worth it? In other words, exhausted from taking things from better writers and warping them to simulate originality, Jar Jar Abrams here actually steals from himself. Luke was hidden, and you needed a map to find him. Palpatine is hidden, and you need a map to find him. The Enterprise was hidden beneath the water. Star Destroyers are hidden beneath the water. Jar Jar Abrams has reached the point where he's cannibalizing his own crap. The Ouroboros of Hollywood. Feeling excited yet? Come December 20th, we get to see Jar Jar Abrams devour his own backside. To see entertainment of this kind, you used to have to go to Times Square in New York in the 70s and watch it in a booth, a quarter at a time. But I digress. Kerry Russell's Zori Bliss does not seem to be a Sith assassin, as the rumors held, nor was she responsible for Rey's parents' deaths. The character is simply Poe's friend from their spice smuggling days. She keeps her mask on the whole film. Apparently, at one point, she lifts a visor so you can see her eyes while she's flirting with Poe, which will certainly enrage feminists. Well, that's a little something for your Christmas stocking, at least. As they're trying to inject fun into this corpse of a film, Poe also has a bigger role to play, at last, now that Holdo isn't around to keep him down. But apparently he says things like, they fly now, over and over again, so yeah, your mileage may vary. Force ghosts do not engage in the final battle with Palpatine, but they do talk to Rey during it, which makes no fucking sense at all, because if Yoda can zap the Jedi Temple with lightning, he sure could help out against Palpatine. But he doesn't. The various cuts that had Luke returning in the flesh to fight against Palpatine, Anakin returning in the flesh, Leia returning in the flesh, these are all gone. It's just Rey and Kylo versus Palpatine now. It's confirmed that Rey shoots Force lightning during the struggle. But what of Reylo? Is Reylo a thing? Well, apparently throughout the movie they Force Skype each other, touch base, fight, then hang up. This happens over and over again, and Kylo and Rey essentially fall in love between Force Skype fighting, uniting to defeat the Emperor in the end. My source said, quote, "It's really bad, like Twilight bad," unquote, with regard to the Kylo and Rey relationship. So cheer up, all you Reylos out there. Disney has heard you. You wanted to turn Star Wars into a cringy Twilight young adult novel? Mission accomplished. Bad boy Kylo gets turned into a good boy by the love of the bestest girl ever. Happy? I hope so. I hope this movie will make someone happy, even if it's just Reylos, which I think will be the case. Only Reylos will be happy with Rise of Skywalker. And on one final positive note, as per my original source, we will never see the cut where the Millennium Falcon gets blown up, killing Chewie and Lando and R2 and 3PO and Leia. They cut that scene. They backed away from that abyss, at least. Score 1 for the good guys. In short, Rise of Skywalker looks like a disaster of epic proportions. They backed away from blowing up all the main characters in one fell swoop. Goody for them. The rest of it looks absolutely abominable. They have not fixed anything. They have just swept things under the rug by cutting the explanations for those things and leaving the horrible things themselves intact. Come Christmas, we're going to have a lot to talk about on Rise of Skywalker, and I hope that you will join me for the fun. I have another video coming out in a few days regarding a heartfelt missive addressed to me from someone in the belly of the beast that is Lucasfilm itself, discussing the sorrow and desperation of those trapped inside it under the yoke of Kennedy and her minions. That video is not to be missed. Look for it before the week is over. From the center of the earth, this is Dictor Van Doomcock bidding you all, my friends, stay angry.